see will defy explanation.
Hello everyone, it's time for my February upload. And this time I'm going to be doing something quite a bit different this round. I'm going to be doing my top 20 favorite anime villains of all time. And I know I have actually done a variation of this list in the past, but it got copyright struck, and I felt like it wasn't incomplete. It was only a top 10 list, and I really wasn't happy with it. So I'm going to go all the way down and go top 20. Why? There are so many amazing anime villains that you can't help but love. So the best way to do that is to maximize it and narrowing it down to top 20 of the greatest anime villains that I've ever seen on anime. As you can see, my anime pickings are always great. It's hard for me to pick, so let's get things started and let's start listing this shit. Let's go! Top 20 favorite anime villains of all time. Let's hit it! Number 20 is Haruko from Fooly Cooly. Now, this is an odd choice. Is she really a villain? In a way, she is. She is an antagonist. Basically, she is just someone searching for the power that she wants, and she does it at least twice. I don't count the other series alternative as her as a villain because she is genuinely decent here. She's not purposely trying to hurt anyone, and this is an alternate story to what happens to the other two stories later on, or basically it's a prequel. But still, her in this version, yeah, she's definitely a villain. Basically, she will destroy Earth or whatever, or whoever gets in her way to get what she wants, and what she wants is Atomisk, the power to obliterate and destroy solar systems. Basically, she's kind of like Ansem from Kingdom Hearts in this. She wants that power so badly she'll even manipulate and extort a little kid to get what she wants, and later on she does it to a few middle schoolers. It's kind of messed up how she kind of manipulates these people using her sexual wiles. She's a manipulative villain, but still, that doesn't make her unlikable. She's a lot of fun, charismatic, cute, and honestly, insanity runs through her. I get a kick out of watching her every time she's on screen. She's fantastic. Easily one of the best villains done in anime history. And honestly, most people wouldn't even, count her as a villain. They kind of see her as a protagonist, but no, she is definitely the antagonist of this show. If you think about it, Naota is kind of a bystander in his own series, while Amuro, the guy with the creepy eyebrows, is kind of the hero because they're trying to keep the planets from being destroyed by her and Atomisk. All I gotta say, it's a lot of fun. I love this series, and she really does make it very interesting. Anyhow, she's worthy of being number 20 on the list. Let's go on to number 19.
And when you see my father, give him a message for me. Tell him that I can't thank him enough for creating me.
Number 19 is Marik from Yu-Gi-Oh! And not just any Marik, Yami Marik, or the Dark Marik. The Marik that kind of takes over the body of the decent Marik, who actually wasn't a good guy in the beginning anyway. He's an alternate personality that pretty much is Marik's darker side, much like Yugi and Bakura. Except he's kind of a little more twisted than Yugi or Bakura is in any way. He starts out as a little kid by skinning his own father to death. Yeah, they had to cut this stuff out in the anime, by the way. In the manga, it's even worse. He basically just will kill his own subordinates. He doesn't care. He's a monster, and man, is he really entertaining. One of the best Yu-Gi-Oh! Villains, actually the best Yu-Gi-Oh! Villain done to date. You can't get past how sick and sadistic he is. I think my favorite aspect to him is his penalty games. And my favorite duel that he takes part in is his duel with Mai on how he tortures her. Now, in the anime, He basically tortures her by having her lose memory of her friends, whilst in the manga, the monsters are brutally attacking her. And I prefer the manga counterpart more so myself. Especially in Mai's penalty game, this guy gives no shits. In the anime, it's basically sand that smothers her to death. In the manga, it's bugs that will rip her flesh off while she's in that little hourglass thing. It's really deeply disturbing, and I love every single second of his on-screen appearance. His design is also really unique too. He definitely has that scary gothic look to him, and honestly, he's just so entertaining. Now, if I had to pick character-wise, I would pick Dark Bakura because I really enjoy him, but I really don't count Dark Bakura as evil as Dark Merrick. Dark Merrick just kind of has it all down. He is worthy of being the best antagonist out of the series, even more so than Pegasus. Pegasus did take souls away, but Merrick, he harmed friends physically, mentally, and emotionally. He destroyed, manipulated, and killed whoever he could, his own subordinates or not, and yeah, I just love this guy. Now, he wasn't exactly a good guy before his darker aspect of his personality took over, but once it takes over, he's an unstoppable killing machine. Let's go on to number 18.
You could lose your teeth from their roots.
Fool!
Yujiro Hanma. Talking about a malevolent, evil, demonic force, much like Merrick, Yujiro Hanma is far worse, I think, in that aspect. He's not flashy or anything, and his design is also very scary and etc. Now, I'm only going to put his 2001 version on this list because, well, I haven't watched the new Baki series yet, or the reboot or whatever it is, so I really don't know. This version of Yujiro is sick and twisted. He loves chaos and fighting just for the hell of it, and he will gladly put his own son and torture him through many painful anguish and destroy nearly his friend's life too. And also, this guy also kills his own wife. Or basically his baby mama. He gives no shits about anything. Family means nothing to him. He's a malevolent force that can't be stopped. He is pure evil. And honestly, he's not the most evil character on this list. There's going to be some villains on here that are even more heartless than him. However, what keeps him so low is, well, honestly, he's a little too over the top for me. I like my villains to be subtle, and Yujiro, design and acting-wise, isn't very subtle, but still, every time he's on screen, I enjoy watching him. It's just a fun run. He easily destroys and kills whatever's in his path, being the actual demon that he is. So, basically, this is going to be a shorter segment. That's all I've got to say about him. He's a pretty decently well-done villain. Next is the McDougal brothers from Outlaw Star. Now, Harry and Ron McDougal are a very interesting pair, but this is kind of a cheat to put them on the list because, well, let's face it, they're two people in one spot, but they work as a team to me. Harry is very unstable and gets upset at the slightest thing, while Ron is much more cool and confident. They are easily the best watchable villains in this show. There really isn't a full-fledged evil villain in Outlaw Star. Outlaw Star kind of has the copycat ability of, say, Cowboy Bebop, where the villains come in every so often. But yeah, there isn't really a full-fledged villain, but Harry and Ron McDougal are fantastic. And I've got to say, it's just awesome. I mean, there's not a whole lot to say about them. They're just the cool, badass, racers, pirates of the group. And treasure hunters. I love these guys. They're just a lot of fun on screen. They have good chemistry together, and they're even more fun apart. So, let's move on. this one is a very debated choice. Kyubey from Madoka Magica. Now, Kyubey is honestly one of the most neutral things. Basically, what Kyubey wants is relatively unknown. Why does he form these magical girl setups? What is his purpose? What is his goal? Sincerely, he wants to make a contract with all these girls and take their souls. Why? Because he can. It's not really explained very well in the anime, and he does get penance for what he does later on, but it's a very interesting and good show when it comes down to it, and Kyubey is very interesting. He doesn't look like a traditional villain. He looks like a cute little cat, but this thing, honestly to me, is evil. I do consider him evil for manipulating these girls into a contract by offering them one of the greatest wishes that they could ever have. And that's about it. I mean, there's nothing really too great about these characters off and on, in my opinion. But the girls themselves, honestly, are fooled by him. And that's what makes him kind of interesting. He's able to really put it into perspective on why he is so easily to manipulate and easily to control the girls and form a contract with them. Honestly, he's really well done. And when I first watched Madoka Magica, I honestly didn't see him as a villain, but boom. Once it's hit that he is a villain or a form of manipulation in himself, you kind of can't take your eyes off him. And he does take a little bit of fear inducement when he's on screen. It's kind of weird seeing this cute little cat creature on screen and you're kind of just off-put by it. His design is very simple, yet scary at the same time. Now we're on to Mitsuomi Takeyanagi from Tenjo Tenge. Now, he is a very different type of villain. As in the anime, he's not very prominent and he only has a few scenes. We get more into his backstory in the anime. But once he gets down to business, he seriously gets down to fucking business. He can really fuck a few people up when he's fighting, and he's more of an intimidation-like character. Basically, we learn more about in his backstory that he was weak, and he tried to get stronger and stronger as the show went on. In the manga, it's definitely pushed more into his character that this guy is no freaking pushover. And honestly, they did really well with him too. He's much more designed for intimidation, but I do like his backstory. How he's able to overcome his weakness. And he starts off, which is kind of different, as a sweet, innocent little character that gets stronger and more corrupted by power when he's in the school, as he keeps getting stronger as it goes on and on and on. He despises the Juken Club because his old friend, was finally destroyed or committed the end game, and he hates everything about that aspect. He also had a love affair with his best friend's girlfriend and his best friend's sister around the same time. It was kind of a messed up situation, and he is also the love interest of Maya in the Tenjo Tenge series, one of the main girls of the series. It's really interesting to watch him, and he does progress more in the manga because the anime unfortunately isn't continued on. And it's a good series all around. So, what have I got to say about him? He's worthy of this spot. We're getting closer and closer to the top 10s as we go on, but yeah, these guys aren't anything amazing, but they do have pretty prominent details about them that make them a lot more fun than most anime villains. We're moving on to Galatea from Bubblegum Crisis Tokyo 2040. God, what a title. Now, she is basically a created experiment that is created from the aspect of one of the main characters of the show. She's pretty interesting, but yeah, she's got a good creepy factor going on here. A killer little kid can honestly be a little more terrifying than a killer adult version of that person. I think the little kid aspect really works. What she wants is basically to destroy all humanity and run through with her electronics and purge humanity in general. It's kind of a fucked up thing, but honestly, she's a pretty interesting character, and like I said, the little kid aspect can be terrifying. She gets to the point where she becomes so powerful, she becomes like a goddess, and the Bubblegum Crisis team themselves have to fight her. Being one of the most prominent enemies for the team, she can be very interesting, and she takes control of other characters such as Maki, and it just builds on and on and on. It's a very interesting piece, and I love her personality. She starts off as a little bland when she reawakens, but once she gets into fight mode, she becomes pretty badass. That's all I'm gonna say. She's worthy of this spot. There's not a whole lot to say about her. She's not super generic or anything, but she is a whole lot of fun. She's not really deep either. It's basically your run-of-the-mill villain. But the design choices and characteristics of her becoming a creepy child killer is kind of cool in my opinion. I don't know. It's been done in shows like Slayer and possibly another series that's on this list with another villain. But I think it was done a lot well with her, even though she is basically just a child version clone of one of the main characters from the series. Anyhow, she's worthy of this spot. Let's move on.
And write names with my left. I'll take a potato chip.
Alright, we have Light Yagami from Death Note. Now, I know a lot of people are gonna say, he's an anti-hero. He didn't do anything bad, really. Well, I hate to burst your bubble, but he finds the notebook the Death Notebook on his first episode and declares himself as God of a new world. He has killed police officers and honestly sacrificed his own father just to keep him hidden. He built up a pretty big rivalry with L. Ryuzaki and later on his successors. It's honestly a pretty bad situation. This guy is definitely villain worthy and he has a god complex, a really bad one. But what makes Light a lot more endearing than, say, characters with a god complex like Zamasu or whoever is that, well, Light is very normal or average looking. He's very handsome and he's very intelligent. He uses his wits more so than his bronze. And there's not very many villains on this list that can really top what he's done, intelligent-wise. There is a few, but Light really does hit it really well. He's able to be a master manipulator, much like another villain that will be on this list. And his reasoning is he wants to play God and take human life himself for people he sees less than trash. Even if it's at the cost of the police, his own dad, his own girlfriends, anyone he can manipulate and control just for the hell of making his new world a reality. Personally, yeah, a lot of people probably don't see this since we're seeing it from the main character's point of view and we're subconsciously rooting for the main character, but if you look at him closely, Light is no anti-hero. He is the villain. He is the villain of his own story and he is killing people, criminals or not. He is still playing God. And he's a well-done God complex character, unlike Zamasu from Dragon Ball Super, who was complete and utter trash. Light is able to manipulate, control, and outsmart even the smartest people in the entire run of the show. It's kind of cool how they bring him in, and he is secretly one of the most sadistic characters on this list. Not the sadistic, one of them. Like I said, we still got a lot more to go. We got a long, long way to go. Let's keep going. Alright, we're on to Sutengu from Speedgrapher. And I'm going to say one thing before I start. I'm going to talk about his dub counterpart. Rest in peace, Chris Ayers. You did a fantastic job with this character. Anyhow, Sutengu is a money-hungry businessman. He spares no one, and he kind of reminds me of another villain on this list, which, spoilers, vicious from Cowboy Bebop. His power and control is all he ever wants, and he wants to crash the Japanese stock market and destroy it all. The dude even smokes money. No joke. He rolls money up and he smokes it. I'm not shitting you here. But what makes him so different than your normal money-hungry villain is he's got superpowers. And he will do whatever it takes to get what he wants. It's honestly really fucked up. I mean, the dude even diddles into, well, lack of a better words, child diddling when he tries to marry the younger protagonist of the show who is about 15. And basically his idea is, let's just change her birth certificate age and we'll get married to her. Why? He wants the power, he wants the money, he wants the status. Why? Because he hates all those big suit corporate fat cats that destroyed his life and took his sister away from him. The dude has a tragic history, and honestly, the performance that Chris Ayers gave him is unrivaled. I mean, holy shit. I love Chris Ayers as, say, Frieza, but his role as Sutengu on here is breathtakingly amazing. One of the best English dub performances I have ever heard. He is easily an incredible villain with so much depth put in. I love him. And his superpower aspect is pretty badass too. He has a whole crew of flunkies too that are interesting characters, but he reigns supreme on them. Let's move on.
About it. Listen. I've been gathering some individuals of like minds. We dream of a free world, and we're making it a reality. My comrades in revolution are ready.
Next we have Creed Diskinth from Black Cat. What can I say about this one? Well, Creed is a yandere. And anyone knows what a yandere is that has watched animes like Future Diary and etc. Creed is a male yandere who has a complete obsession with the main character. Yes, a male gay yandere. Creed is so much more interesting than any of the main cast of Black Cat. How the lengths that the guy goes to do what he does is nicely incredible. He forms a group called the Apostles of the Star and basically wants to eradicate humanity yet again because, well, the worst aspects of humanity are all right there. He was abused as a child by his mother, and it kind of gave him a bipolar disorder, and it basically destroyed his psyche, the abuse that he went through. And he became very obsessed with the main character, Train Hartnett, as into more than romantic feelings to him. The guy actually has a photo of him that he painted by mixing his blood with his own. Going on kind of creep factors here. And then on top of that, he has a statue in his living room. It's really honestly very creepy, but he is very entertaining. And with a voice performance by Chris Patton, you can't help but just add on to the over-the-topness of this character. Like, unbelievable. That's all I'm gonna say. It is just so well done. It's kind of cool that in the manga they go into more detail with him on his feelings for Train, but in the anime, we don't get that much. We just get the fact that he hates humanity and he is gonna get that pistol in Train's pants. That's what he's after. He's just very interesting to watch, and that doesn't discount his evil portions either. The guy will take out children, women, men that don't join his side. And he has taken over government officials and etc. just for the hell of it. And the people that he's joined up with is just fantastic. His main hatred is the organization that he used to be part of called Kronos, which is a organization of sweepers, well, not sweepers, but assassins that go and take out people for money and etc. He finds them to be the scum of the earth. Then there's the sweepers, aka bounty hunters, that he also has a hatred with, mainly because Train left the sweeper, or left Kronos to join the sweepers. So anything that Train's in, he despises because he wants Train to be on his side. The worst thing Creed has actually done was take out the main protagonist's love interest. And how does he take her out? By brutally murdering her in front of children. Good God! And basically he becomes a shadow for throughout the series that Train and the others end up having to chase. He's very well done, and honestly, I've got to say, definitely worthy of this spot. He's more of the crazy yandere male villain here, and he definitely eats up the scenery as the show goes on.
Sharing one's life with another, and they with you. Losing the borders of oneself in a great sanguine sea. To gain by losing.
Now we're on to the top 10 list, and this one's a golden one. Zimeja from Hellsing Ultimate. One of the craziest, insane villains that basically doesn't even have to get up from his chair to be evil. The guy has bad aim and honestly can't fight to save his life. But why does he do what he does? He loves war. He has a sadistic opening scent for war, and he loves blitzkriegs and holocausts and everything. He will do whatever he can to have the entire world at stake, warring with each other. He's such a fun villain, and he wants to rule the entire world and have it all wage war with one another. He's a very interesting, well put together character, and honestly his design is just a lot of fun in general. You take one look at this dude and you could just see the crazy in his eyes. Why does he do everything like this? For war, for fun, anything he can do, he wants to have a blast doing it. His nemesis is Alucard. He wants to stop the vampire that is completely unkillable, but he wants to try to kill him anyway, or have him join up. Either way is good to have his complete and utter war. His dreams, everything is basically a big, gigantic world war that involves everything and everyone, with nothing but murder, despair, and blood in the air. I love this guy. I love how crazy he is. And everything about him, it just screams psychotic evil villain. They really went over the top with him, and they really make him look kind of subtle at the same time. It's amazing, but what can you say other than, I like war? Anyhow, let's go on to number 9.
And you will shed tears of scarlet.
Yes, number 9 is Vicious from Cowboy Bebop. Now, I know a lot of people are saying Vicious is a very generic, stereotypical villain, but honestly, so is a lot of the characters on this list. Vicious is just really interestingly well designed, and his heartless and evil motivation is to become the top priority of the ruler of the Red Dragon clan. Why? Well, because he loves the fact that he wants to rule everything and become a ravenous wolf, as he says. He believes that the Syndicate should be ruled by a young, powerful fist, and there really isn't much of a personality to him. He's very cold, very ruthless, and honestly, very bloodthirsty. He ends up he used to be best friends with the main protagonist, Spike Spiegel, but however, they sever ties later on over a woman. Yes, Julia. Julia basically betrays Vicious, or maybe it's the other way around. I have no idea. They don't really clarify it. Into basically destroying their entire friendship. Personally, I think that Vicious was with Julia first, and then she fell in love with Spike, and Vicious ended up trying to hunt them both down and murder them both. It's honestly one of the best villains done in anime history to me, because what he says is completely right. He told Julia when he found out about their betrayal was that you either kill him or both of you die. And that is basically what happens. Vicious does get his way, and he does become the leader of the Red Dragon clan. He's heartless, completely soulless, and he cares nothing for no one. He values nothing but wants everything. And honestly, yeah, that could be a very big motivator for him. He has no soul, and I'm gonna say this, I think he is the most heartless villain on this list. It's downright terrifying. Hell, his first appearance that we get of him is him taking down a mob boss, and he actually grins. That creepy grin just takes up a lot of everything here. It's just very well done in my book, and I've gotta say, very well done voice performance by Skip Stelred, his English voice actor, who just knocks it out of the park playing this guy. Honestly, Vicious is worthy of this spot. Now, it's low ranking, like I said, it's not top 5 worthy, but it is worthy of being on the list. Let's move on.
Oh, I do assure you that my decoy and I are part of the same body.
When it comes to sadistic villains, all I've got to say is Yu Yu Hakusho has one in particular, and his name is Elder Toguro. Now, I do know that his brother, the younger Toguro, the more muscular guy in the 80s sunglasses, is more of the main villain of the group, but Elder Toguro is the most reoccurring of the villains. Unlike most of them, none of the ones from previous arcs don't really ever come back except for him. And he is the most sadistic character in Yu Yu Hakusho, more so than Sansui, more so than his younger brother. In fact, in my opinion, younger Toguro actually isn't a villain, but Elder Toguro is. He loves to torture and dissect most of the enemies that he comes in contact with. And you can just see the look on his face while he's enjoying doing it. Why does he do this? He's just got a sixth sense of sadistic tendencies. He's a borderline serial killer. And basically, this guy can't die. It doesn't matter how many times he's beaten or disembodied, he can pull himself back together, and he just won't die. In fact, it takes Kurama pinning him to the Sinning Tree to neutralize him. He's not dead, and he will never die because he can keep rebuilding himself. Even if his heart or brain is pierced, he could just move them around, or they could just automatically recover. He's very interesting, and I just love his psychoticness, I guess it would be to say, on how he tortures poor Kurama and Kuwabara while he's taunting the death of their former Master Genkai, or basically how he taunts the death of a child. He is a very sick individual, and honestly, I think he's the most evil character in Yu Yu Hakusho. But yeah, he's low on the list, like I said, because, well, we don't get to see a lot of him, but he is the most reoccurring villains out of the entire series. Next is Yuno Gasai from Future Diary, and before anyone says anything, she counts as a villain. When someone nonchalantly murders children and women without any hesitation, yeah, she is definitely a villain, a monster of a villain too, and honestly one of the most entertaining villains on this list. She has an obsession with the main character. Now remember back in my other entry when I talked about Creed's obsession with the main character? It has nothing on Yuno's obsession with the main character. This is a yandere in full form here, and she is very interesting. She even wants to kill the main character's mother if she doesn't approve of Yuno and his relationship. It's honestly very, very disturbing. And how does she do this? Well, she basically starts out as she murdered her own parents and let them starve to death in a cage. She then goes on murdering people, setting bombs through schools, and letting people die just because she can. Brutally stabbing and killing people. Hell, she'll even end up killing the main character if he doesn't please her. She even kidnaps the poor guy and force feeds him food. In some of the most cringe-worthy and painful scenes you could ever see. Yuno comes off looking very sweet and nice on the cover, but on the surface, we have a full-fledged evil monster here. And it seems like she will do anything she can to help the one she loves, but honestly, no, that isn't the full-fledged case. If he doesn't please her, she will end up going after him and trying to kill him. And apparently she has done this several times. apparently is a time traveler that has done these arts over and over and over. She is basically the god of this world, and she wants her Pookie, as she calls him, to become god of the world so he could get his wish. Why? I just don't know. It's insane how many times she has done this, and basically she manipulates him and goads him into killing people and lies to him about being able to bring them all back. It's honestly a very dark and depressing character too. When you see more behind her facade, you see how crazy she is, but you also see how tragic of a character she is. She might actually be the most craziest person on this list too. But we're only at this portion, at this number at the moment, so there's going to be more villains that might top her. Well, there are going to be villains that top her. But yeah, this woman is nuts insane and will kill anyone that stands in her way. So, who else could top her? Well, let's see and move on.
Bang!
Oh yeah, we could not forget about Lord Frieza, the most evil villain in the universe, the most illustrious fighter in the universe, Frieza. Long live Lord Frieza. Well, I have talked about Frieza many times on my Dragon Ball rankings, so you know what I think of Frieza. I love Frieza as a villain, the greatest villain in Dragon Ball Z, until Dragon Ball Super comes along and destroys his entire personality by making him a pussy thanks to Lord Beerus, but we're not counting Super Frieza. Frieza is a merciless monster that exterminated entire races of people just because he could. Why? Because he can. That's why. There's no other reason until Super kind of bullshits reasonings that it was an order from Lord Beerus or what the fuck ever. Frieza honestly loves his power and he loves control. He loves to be on top of everything and destroy everything, and yet he doesn't look all that frightening. In his first form, he looks so mini and tiny that you really can't see him as anything else. Yet, you take another good look at the character and you see that there is a monster inside of him. One of my favorite moments with Frieza is basically where he shows up on Namek and he's interrogating the Namekians, and he first says, well, you could talk to me in your own language because I know you could speak our language. And it's kind of really well done. It kind of gives me Inglourious Basterds vibes. Frieza is a master of control. He's evil for the sake of evil, and that's why we love him. Every scene he's in really steals the show, and I've got to say, the performance Linda Young gave and Chris Ayers gave really fleshed Frieza out for me. One of my favorite other moments with Frieza is how he just is able to callously murder Krillin and so many other people without even batting an eye. He is definitely your psychotic villain standard here. He is the most powerful being in the universe, and he will keep that mantle. That is just the way Frieza works. He will torture, kill, and basically destroy whatever is in his path to keep his grasp on power and control. And he's worthy, way more than worthy, at being number 6 on this list. So I say it, long live Lord Frieza. Let's move on to the top 5.
Defeated in the east.
The winds of the king!
Zenshin!
Keiretsu!
Tenpa Kyoran! Look! The east is burning red!
Now we're on to number 5. The undefeated of the East, Master Asia from G Gundam. What more can you say about this character other than this is the best well-done villain in Gundam history? He starts out as a good guy, and we see it through Domo and Kashu's eyes, the main character of the series in G Gundam, that he is a good person trying to help fight for Tokyo and Japan and trying to help destroy the Dark Gundam itself. However, everything is stopped when you find out Master Asia was using the Dark Gundam himself to basically take over Japan and etc. and recruit more characters into his scheme. Like the new Shuffle Alliance, Argo Golski, Chibdi Crockett, Saisaishi, and George Desan, and he eventually tries to mind control Domon into accepting DG cells. Master Asia is very charismatic and very powerful. And we find out what he wants is basically at the tail end of his life. He wants to destroy all humanity on this earth. Thanks to the Gundam fights being able to wipe out so much nature in the world, he wants to be able to destroy all humanity and let the earth regenerate itself. That's why he took over the Dark Gundam. In a way, he's doing the wrong thing for the right reason. But however, he is still evil and very, very powerful. Basically able to strong root Domon, the character we've been watching for almost 11 or 12 episodes at this point, and basically to destroy and uproot the entire story and enhance. Basically, Domon has went through a lot in this section of the anime. You find out he's lost his mom, his dad's in a cryogenic state, and we find out that his brother betrayed them all. And then finally, when he has some frame of mind, reuniting with his master, we find out Master Asia is also working with the Dark Gundam. At first, we think he's under the control of Kyoji, Domon's brother, but then we find out he's the one running the show, and he's the one manipulating everything, and it's up to Domon and the team to actually put a stop to him. In the first half, he appears to have stopped the Dark Gundam, but in the second half, we see Master Asia is in the second portion of the Gundam fight, using the manipulation of their Earth's administrator, or Earth's government leader, Yang Wun-Fat, to basically manipulate the Gundam fight to his liking and taking control of his politics and position. Master Asia is a master manipulator. On top of all that, he's also unbelievably strong and brutal. He will not hesitate to kill his own student if he has to. He will do what he can. And when it comes down to it, when he finds out what happened to Kyoji after Domon dealt a lethal blow to the Dark Gundam, and the pilot of the Dark Gundam is out of commission or unable to recover, he wants to use Domon's body to pilot the Dark Gundam the same way that Kyoji was. He is very heartless in some portions, but yet again, right around the end, we do sympathize and understand why he's doing what he's doing, which is why I say he is probably the best villain in the Gundam franchise. There are other Gundam villains that try to destroy Earth, but not Master Asia. He's trying to revive Earth, and he's trying to do what he can nature-wise, making him one of the most interesting villains I've seen in the entire Gundam franchise myself. I'm not a huge Gundam fan, but I really love this character. And him being such a lethal, strong force, even more so than possibly the Dark Gundam itself, it's just great. You can't take your eyes off him throughout the scene, and you just can't help but love the guy. Let's go on to number 4.
Is your god so readily lost to your people? Is he?
Yes, number 4 is Fuhrer King Bradley from Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood. Now, this guy is definitely a Master Asia type, an older gentleman who basically uses his age and his position of power to manipulate and control people. Now, I know a lot of people are going to say, well, in Brotherhood, isn't Father the main villain? Technically. But Father hid in the shadows while Fuhrer King Bradley did all the work. He was able to get respects from countries and feared from other countries world and nationwide. In fact, so many people feared him. The guy is unstoppable. And believe it or not, even though he is basically a homunculus at this point, he is still ages like a human being. So they used a human body for him. He loves to be on top and he loves power and control, but he will do what he can to get what he needs. He has a bitter hatred for humanity, and honestly, he hates the world at large there. So many people fear him, and even when he is thought to be dead, the guy comes back and is able to destroy tanks, and he does have a pretty high body count by the end of the series. It's downright freaking terrifying on how he is portrayed here, and I've got to say, it's just amazing. You can't take your eyes off this character every time he's on screen. And I do know that he was in the 03 series, and he really didn't do much. He was just kind of an asshole in the 03 series. And Brotherhood, he's here for the long haul, and he is going to fight with everything he's got, even if it costs him his own life. Hell, he even does some of the worst things in the series, like taunting the Elric brothers and manipulating them, and manipulating his entire army against everyone. The guy could even kill off a tank without any problems. Everyone fears him. Everyone's scared of this dude. He is completely and utterly unstoppable. Even his last breath, he is cursing the god that Scar follows. His final battle with Scar is probably one of the best fights in Full Metal Alchemist history, or probably maybe even in anime history. And he is cursing the god and insulting Scar and destroying his ego completely. It's unfreaking believable. He still holds on to his will to fight even long after his death. And, well, all I gotta say is just, he's worthy of being number 4. A master manipulator who can't be topped down and he can't be stopped. Just easily one of the greatest villains ever made in anime history. Let's go on to number 3.
Shut up!
You know this is not finished yet. Did you really expect the end to come so easily?
Number 3 is Legato Blue Summers from Trigun. This guy, talk about manipulation, control, and everything. And like Fury King Bradley, he is also a patsy, basically. If you think about it, Knives is the main villain from Trigun with his relationship with Vash the Stampede, yada yada yada. But yet Legato is the one who leaves the hole in the heart of the main character. Why does he do this? Well, he was saved. He was a slave originally owned that Knives saved him, and he got to see the worst parts of humanity. He hates humans much more than Knives ever could. And what this guy does is just as much sadistic as anything else I've ever seen. He is just so creepy and evil. I love it. His design is pretty scary too. Basically, he shows up around episode 12 of Trigun. And Trigun at this point was mainly a lighthearted episode until he shows up and changes the dynamic and flow of the series and pins Vash the Stampede for the murder of a weapons owner. Basically, he leaves a bag there. And that bag, in the manga anyway, has the head of the weapons owner there. Vash is pinned for it. And he basically spends most of the series manipulating and torturing Vash. Until the very end, where Vash is forced to end up putting a bullet in his head. Yeah. He forces Vash to do the one thing that Vash never wanted to do, and that's take a life. And how he does it is so sick and sadistic that you can't help but watch. Basically, he gets him and goads him into the only option to stop his friends from being harmed, to stop all the chaos and control, is to end his life. And Vash was forced to do it. He finally made him. He put a permanent scar on the main character by forcing him to kill. In fact, one of the highlights is just how much pleasure he brings manipulating people. And he does have a psychological telekinesis thing where he can make people rip their hearts out and destroy them anyway. If Vash refuses to kill them, well, he makes them kill themselves in front of Vash. But this time, around the end of his appearance, Vash is forced to finally put an end to him. And yeah, it definitely leads to Vash being marked psychologically and emotionally, because he finally was able to do what no other villain could do, what not even his brother Knives could do, was permanently scar Vash for the rest of his life. And that's what makes him a much more interesting villain than Knives himself. Legato is honestly one of the most evil characters I've seen. And he definitely enjoys what he's doing. He's not just some lapdog that's doing it because he's ordered to. No, he's loving every second of torturing Vash the Stampede and taking out so many humans. what can you say, but he's definitely worthy of the number 3 spot here. Let's go to number 2.
He was quite an anomaly. He was truly a man possessing neither blood nor tears. If it ended in his victory, he would seek out any method. And once a master was his target, not even the ones who begged for their lives were spared.
Number 2, Kirei Kotomine from the Fate franchise. Oh man, I knew that this guy was either going to be number 3 or number 2, and I ultimately put him at number 2. Born with a birth defect of being born without able to feel any emotions unless there is agony and pain involved into them, Kirei Kotomine, as he says himself, was born defective. A preacher who lost his virtue, who wants to feel joy in the world, but he sees joy as more of a tarnish, as more of something that is blasphemy, because when he feels any sort of joy, it's at the suffering of others. And yeah, that shows what kind of defect he was born with. He loves pain and agony, and he will do whatever it takes to get to feel that pain and agony and to get to feel that joy and spread the anarchy around. He is evil incarnate, if you ask me. I have often wondered if Kirei or the other villain of the group, Zoken Mato, was more evil. I had to go with Kirei because, well, Zoken was doing it for a decent cause. Kirei was doing it for the destruction of it. And Fate Zero were introduced to Kirei as somebody that is trying to get a grip on his emotions. At this point, he has recently lost his wife and his child was given up for adoption. And he gets a twisted relationship with a few characters. One of them being Kiritsugu Emiya and the other being Kariya Matao. Basically, he gets pleasure into Kariya's suffering, who is after the Grail to save his niece, while the other version, Kiritsugu, he feels is someone similar to him, yet he's envious of him because he has everything, and yet value and has nothing at the same time. He still is able to feel love. Kirei kind of envies him over that. Yet he wasn't able to do anything, and during their final battle in the Holy Grail, well, when Kirei was trying to get the Grail, we see that there was nothing but chaos and stuff riddled throughout the entire section of it. And then, basically, he got his wish, or he thinks it's his wish, as Gilgamesh tells him. He kind of comes back in later versions of basically the Fate series of Stay Night, Heaven's Feel, and Unlimited Blade Works, as more so. In Stay Night, he is the main villain in the anime adaptation, and Unlimited Blade Works, he's kind of a background villain that gets taken down later, but in Heaven's Feel, yeah, he is the main villain. While I consider Zoken the secondary antagonist, I consider Kirei the main villain, who wants the Holy Grail so he could get his wish of nothing but chaos. He wants to see the creature inside the Grail being able to be born. A man void of any real emotions but chaos and pain he loves to cause and spread around. He is definitely pure evil, and honestly, I couldn't pick anyone else any better to be the number 2 on this list. He loves to watch the suffering of others. He loves to see them rot and be in pain. In fact, at Rin's father's funeral, he is laughing when he gives her the knife, the dagger he took her father's life with. Easily, he comes across emotionless when we first see him, but then we see him again, and you see nothing but joy on his face. He finally gets his final battle with an Emiya. Even though it's not the Emiya he wants this final battle with, he still fights to the actual death of everything with Shiro until he is at his last breath, and he finally dies getting the final battle he wants. Everything about Kirei is just unbelievable, and it just makes him a very interesting, fun villain, and honestly, he's the best character in the Fate franchise. I know a lot of people like the servants and etc., Gilgamesh and whatnot, but the character I identified most with was with Kirei. I don't know why I identify with him, but man, he made for such a good villain. He even considers himself the villain in his own story. Anyhow, he's worthy of number 2, but who could top the most evil, twisted villain of Kirei Kotomine. Who is more evil than this character? Let's move to number 1.
Isn't her daddy a coward and a murderer hiding behind an empty bottle? Well, Richard, how about a drink?
Number 1, Johann Liebert from Monster. And what can I say about this character that hasn't been said by me before? I have went into detail about Johann many times during my top 10 Monster episodes and etc. Johann is easily one of the most twisted villains in the world. And he is just so well done. I mean, this is what you call the perfect villain. His story starts off with he gets a gunshot wound from his younger twin sister, and a golden-hearted doctor chooses to save his life instead of a wealthy patient. 9 years later, throughout Germany, there are serial killings going on, and the doctor himself is confronted by the boy he saved, and the boy turns out to be the serial killer throughout Germany. Now it's up to the doctor himself to hunt down this killer and stop all the murdering and chaos he's bringing upon the world. Johann is one of the most twisted villains in a series that I have ever seen, and I mean in any series. He might be my favorite villain in anything. I would rank him up there with the Emperor from Star Wars on how evil and twisted this character is. Everything about Johann is just unreal. He seems like a demon, and yeah, he wants to manipulate Dr. Tenma, the main character of Monster, into killing him, to let the goodness in his heart be eaten up. He believes in nothing. He believes the only thing all humanity is equal in is death. And he wants to be the last person alive with his sister. And he wants another thing, to find his mother. Why? We really don't know why he's looking for her so much. Johann is definitely one of the most sick, disturbing villains in the entire anime franchise that I've ever seen. Easily, kids love him. They follow him around like he's a Disney mascot. And on top of that, women give him their phone numbers. And he doesn't look traditionally evil. He looks like a nice, caring person. But he's able to manipulate and destroy others. Basically, what he likes to do is, well, he takes over and has people either get killed or has them kill themselves. In fact, there is one game he likes to play with children where he likes to let them jump off a roof, and if they live, they're as strong as he is. He's sick, he's evil, he's disturbed, and he is just unbelievably entertaining. One of the greatest villains in anime history, and in history, like I keep repeating myself saying. It's unbelievable how much effort was put into this story and how much fear. I don't really get nervous watching anime movies or hell, even scary movies in general. You know, when people get nervous and cover their eyes. But when Johann's on screen, I feel a tingle in my back that something is going to go wrong. The character actually makes me nervous. You fear Johann and you see everything. He wants the golden-hearted Dr. Tenma to take his life so he could corrupt him and show him the worst aspects of humanity. He wants his scenery for a doomsday, and he's manipulated others into doing his work for him. He's manipulated children into doing what's best, into mindless monsters. He loves this stuff, but yet all he really wants is to find his mother and to destroy the lives of the people behind him. He starts out in the series killing elder couples and basically corrupting lives and destroying everyone. He will do whatever he can to be the last person alive. He will erase himself from the world. And honestly, he is worthy of being number 1 on this list. And that ends this video for now. Well, it was a lot of fun doing this top 20 list, and I'm actually pretty worn down from it. I may be taking a few weeks or months break or going on a hiatus again, you guys, but thank you for watching my videos and subscribing lately. I noticed my subscriber count has went up when I decided to take a break from all this stuff, and I really appreciate it. It went up by 200 subscribers in 1 month, and I really appreciate that. And if you guys want to see some more lists, tell me in the comments. I upload once a month, but I might not be uploading next month. Anyhow, thank you guys for subscribing. Thank you for watching. Always remember, I'm listening. Leave your suggestions in the comments. And have a good one.
Hello, this is Linda Young, your Lord Frieza. And I demand you to subscribe to Tim's YouTube channel for more anime content. If you haven't, you're missing out. So go! What are you waiting for? We only have 5 minutes to do so.
Hey guys, Skip Stelrecht here, the voice of Vicious from Cowboy Bebop. I hope you're all doing well, staying safe. I wanted to reach out in between takes here, as you can see I'm working, and ask all of you to watch, like, and subscribe to Mr. Tim's YouTube channel. It's a great channel. I think you'll dig it. And do it. All right. Stay safe, be cool, and I hope to see you in the next year or so. Bye.
It's me, Doctor. I was the boy you saved that night. Don't you remember? The secret to breaking the rules is making it look as though you're following them. That was Johann Liebherr from the Anime Monster. I'm Keith Silverstein, and if you are looking for some cool anime content, head on over to my boy Tim's YouTube channel. You're missing out if you don't.